To avoid a worst-case scenario of an intensifying climate crisis, we need to rapidly reduce carbon emissions. To do this, energy systems around the world must make the transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. Lithium batteries play a key role in this process. They power electric vehicles and store energy on the renewable grid, helping to reduce emissions from the transport and energy sectors. However, the process of mining and making lithium as a resource is often accompanied by various issues and damages. These facts raise a disturbing question that is reverberating around the world. Does fighting the climate crisis mean sacrificing human communities and ecosystems? Therefore, our video explores the unfairness, contradictions, and conflicts that lie behind the relationship between the extraction of lithium and the logistics of the product. As we can see from the picture, lithium resources are mainly in the form of brines in South America, in Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, commonly known as the Lithium Triangle. With a comparison, the ore-based lithium resources are mainly concentrated in Australia, which can be seen over time, as Australia has been a major mining and exporting country for lithium. During the gradual growth in demand for lithium, there have been several specific points in time that have accelerated this process. In 1997, countries around the world signed the Kyoto Protocol in response to the climate crisis. Subsequently, new energy companies from all over the world increased the demand for and development of lithium and its products. In May 2015, the Chinese government announced a new energy plan called Made in China 2025, and the market for lithium was fueled by high government policy and economic subsidies. In the immediate aftermath, in 2016, 178 parties from around the world signed the Paris Agreement to tackle more serious climate issues. And in 2017, a low-emissions strategy called Lithium Australia was issued. In 2019, after the COVID pandemic, mine shutdowns, and national border closures, the lithium supply and demand market had a small pullback but reached an all-time high again this year. Faced with such a large market demand and an economic profits, all countries have been rapidly expanding their indigenous lithium development. However, behind this circumstance, there are many contradictions and conflicts that we did not realize. Nowadays, the mainstream mining resources for lithium are divided into two distinct types: lithium ore and lithium brine. The initial stage of the mining process is exploration, where the formal exploration process is strictly regulated, basic worker safety is ensured, and environmental damage is within acceptable limits. But, we have to mention a term here: conflict minerals. What started out as a tool to alleviate armed struggle supported by mining in poor countries has gradually become a means for capital to control governments, exploit costs, and treat people inhumanely. This has led to the poverty region being forced to explore and dig through unprofessional and even illegal means such as the extensive use of child labor and slaves, without the support of large companies. It results in the destruction of community lands and various social conflicts. In addition, the conflict between the developer and the surrounding communities and environment during the mining phase of the lithium brine mine also cannot be ignored. The Atacama Desert in northern Chile is one of the driest deserts in the world, but lithium-rich dissolved salt water lies beneath this flat surface. The Atacama salt marshes are defined as the home of the indigenous Licananti. This indigenous community considers salt water to be a sacred and integral part of their territory. But the mining and processing of lithium brine mines require the consumption of large amounts of groundwater and domestic water. For decades, the Licananti people's living environment has been closely linked to the mining of lithium, which has suffered negative impacts from these brines. With the rapid growth in demand for lithium in recent years, the pressure on the Atacama and widely impacted on the ecosystem destruction, farmland shrinkage, resident living quality. Indigenous leaders and scientists say Chile's plans to use Atacama lithium to promote a global green energy boom will destroy their homeland. The increasing demand for mining is causing the land to dry out, resulting in water shortages and widespread impacts on ecosystem destruction, shrinking arable land, and quality of life for residents. As a result, people are fighting for water as violent protests shake the country. However, the water has been privatized in Chile. The trigger for water privatization began in 1975. The political and economic project of the dictatorship involved the implementation of a radical free market economic model, which usually privatized public services at the state level. This has allowed lithium companies to easily take possession of vital water resources in this arid region simply by paying for it, making even the most basic human right, water rights, unaffordable for poor people. Therefore, we need to be conscious of the possible consequences of quantifying and privatizing natural resources. After extraction, the lithium brine is refined locally to produce lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide, the most important elements for lithium battery products. However, the hard rock miners do not reprocess the lithium raw material locally due to technical and environmental costs, and instead, sell the ore to other processing countries. As we can see in the mapping, the blue areas represent the main exporters of raw lithium ore, who do not have a complete lithium industry chain and must export lithium ore at a lower price to countries that have the technology to refine it. The orange areas represent the main importing countries, where the refining and purification of the raw lithium material generate higher profits but also cause significant local resource consumption and environmental pollution. Due to national policy preferences and support, China imports more than 80% of the world's lithium or raw materials for the preparation of lithium hydroxide and lithium carbonate every year. Lithium hydroxide prepared in China accounts for 90% of the global supply chain. The largest of these companies, Tianqi Lithium, accounts for 12% of global lithium compound production, and has an annual marketing volume of £643 million. In the process of purification and refining, the price of lithium rises by leaps and bounds, bringing huge profits to the countries that master the technology. But at the cost of a huge amount of energy consumption, and environmental pollution caused by the chemical products. As the largest importer of raw materials for lithium, China ships the produced compounds to Japan and South Korea through its ports. At the same time, most of the world's lithium compounds will be exported from Chile and China to Japan, South Korea, India, and the European Union, where they will be processed into lithium-ion batteries. The raw lithium from developing countries travels through the global logistics chain before being transformed into the final finished electric vehicle in the developed world. During this process, the value of lithium increases by an astonishing 102 times. We have also calculated some of the prices and incomes of the people involved in the entire lithium production and transportation process, which we hope will reflect the unfair treatment of different groups of people by technological monopolies and national power gaps. In the context of the whole era of the lithium rush, the lithium resources as a source of all kinds of unfairness, conflict, environmental destruction, and even war, we need to think more carefully about its future by going back in time. We can see from the history of the gold rush colonization that for poor countries, having the resource may not have been a blessing, or even a disaster, with developers only recklessly accessing the resource here, leaving behind pollution and harm. And in the present, the control of developed countries and big business over the markets of raw material countries demonstrates the same neo-colonial influence. And history seems to be repeating itself. In a future where energy problems and the climate crisis are getting worse, the demand for lithium is only going to increase. We need to understand the story behind this and think about how to solve it.